All right, we're back. Still moving right to left. So in the last two videos, we did this teddy bear fur field. Now it's time to turn our attention to a creek. So I carved this into my foam a long time ago when I laid the track. Left a causeway there for the track, and then the stream continues on the other side of the track at an angle, so that I can hide that by bringing trees down and shrubbery and that kind of stuff and kind of hiding the fact that this goes around a corner. So the plan here is to put a fairly large culvert or two in here, paint the bottom of the stream bed here, which is wood. Probably paint that a darker brown. And the sides are already painted with just regular latex paint. But before that, they got a coat of Sculptamold. And it's been sitting like that, you know, since last summer when I first laid this track. So it's been like that for over a year probably at this point. So I feel like the foam is fairly well, hopefully very well sealed. And so we'll paint the channel, if you will, you know, a little bit darker, and put some various textures on the side. I'll show you that in a bit. And then I've got some talus on order, and I've got some ideas about how to color it and use that kind of as riprap, especially around here on both sides of the causeway there. And so that's kind of the plan. Let me show you the material. Okay, now some of this may change by the time I start mixing paints up, but the plan going in is to use burnt umber. I want it like a sort of brownish, amber brown with some green tones to it, like a, I don't know, like a brownish green, probably the best way to describe it. So thinking I'll use some burnt umber and cut it with some of this English ivy. See what that looks like, adjust as needed, but use that for the channel of the river. Then on the sides, this is what I've been using for dirt throughout the layout. So between this and it's probably some of the burnt grass flock on it, you know, just white glue, isopropyl alcohol, diluted white glue over the top, you know, the normal way you would hold down scenic material and ballast. So that's sort of the base layer. Then mix in some of this. This is the deadfall forest stuff. Use this as limbs and things like that in the water eventually. You know, it's just going to be in the channel for now. And I don't have the talus yet. When that comes in, I'll show you guys what I'm going to do with that. But I can get started on this stuff before I get the rocks. I've also got some rock molds that I'm not showing here, that I was thinking about making a few rocks for in the middle of the river, staining them, making them look good. I won those when William A. Hit his 1,000 subscribers. One of his giveaways included some Woodland Scenics rock molds, and some of them are big, some of them are small. I think some of the small and medium-sized ones might make good rocks for the middle of a stream. So I'm gonna try that. I've never done that before. I've never poured water before. All right, so the culvert, this is a piece of 1/2-inch brass rod. I'm probably gonna cut it into 2 sections for each side, so I'll have a total of 4 stuck into the foam there. I'm gonna paint it with this Vallejo, what is this color I like a lot, Panzer Gray, nice sort of grimy black, dark gray color, and then rust it with some of this Bragdon Enterprises rust powder. Once all of that's in, then I'm gonna do the water, and I've seen lots of other videos about how to do this. So it seems like most everybody's using Envirotex Light, so I'm gonna try that. Pour that in maybe 1, maybe 2 layers, not sure. I'm not trying to make this really deep, it's just a stream. And then once that's in, I was gonna use gloss Mod Podge and sort of brush it on, and then use an airbrush. I believe I've seen Luke Towan do it that way. So I was gonna try that. His scenery always looks about as better than anybody's, so let's try it. I think it was his that I saw do that. So that's the plan. Waiting on a few more materials to come, and I'll cover those when they come in. Well, I got to thinking, the pipes going under the causeway shouldn't just be sitting there with all the weight of the earth and everything on them. So I'm building little concrete culverts for each side. This is just some 060 styrene I had. Crudely drilled some holes in there. And what I'm going to do is I cut 4 pieces of this 1/2 inch brass rod, 1/4 inch long each. So I'm going to have these sit just coming out of the culvert a little bit so that the crudeness of that cut there will be hidden by black paint, and a little bit of it there'll be some water in there, but these pipes will kind of cover a lot of that up. So I did this side, and then here's one for the other side. It's still in the 1, 2, 3 blocks on my 30-degree line there, holding that angle while the cement cures. And next step here is just to throw some probably khaki colored paint on the culvert, and then give it a that cheap acrylic pavement that I like with the watered down as a wash, and probably some powders to finish it off. These guys will get the Panzer Gray treatment with some rust powders. I might do a few rust streaks coming down the bottom of the culvert there, and then these will go along that causeway on the layout with talus acting as riprap up above them. I think that'll look a lot better than just the pipe sticking right out of the rocks, which I don't think is probably prototypical. It's too much weight, might crush the pipe. So that's my plan, just kind of making stuff up and having fun. More to come. All right, got the culverts painted up and got some wash on them and some powders. That's going to be the one for the far side of the causeway. And then the one that's going to go over here, I've sort of stuck down in there how it's going to go. So it's hard to get my camera down in there to get a real good look at it. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking it'll look like. And I'll probably put, an 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 inch of water kind of just to the bottom of those pipes, and pour that in. So moving along. All right, just making a couple changes here. I realize that my placement here with those pipes being sort of perpendicular to the track, that looks right. But in order to move this one kind of across the far one, across from the near one, I need to remove a little bit of material here. So I'm going to do that and then kind of use Sculptamold and bring this out a little bit more, kind of shift that whole creek that way a little bit. So that's the plan. I've got my foam cutter warming up. I do have a little Sculptamold here I might have to work through with a blade or something, but no big deal. We will make some adjustments. All right. I removed some material there, and now the culverts line up more or less across from each other. This isn't real civil engineering, but I think it looks passable now. So just a matter now of coming in with a little Sculptamold once I attach these culverts down, filling in behind them, working that sort of far bank there, filling in a little bit of this, fill some of this back in, and I've got some talus I'm going to use as riprap. And I'll probably load it up on riprap right through there. And on that steep part of the bank there where the water would be ripping through and making a turn to go under the tracks, I'm assuming, I'm not a civil engineer, but I'm assuming they generally, if it's going to be a causeway type of thing like this, they would build it up. I'm assuming it would go perpendicular to the tracks and not the river, but I really don't know. Anyway, if nothing else, I needed to curve the stream off to the right there to kind of make it disappear. I'm going to bring these trees kind of along here and make the stream disappear around behind it so it looks convincing. And like it doesn't just go into the woods and disappear. Well, or just cease to be. I want it to disappear. So that's where we are. More to come. Last little note here, I put some styrene over the holes in these culverts, and I painted it that Panzer Gray color, same as the pipes, just so you didn't see any white or anything from the Sculptamold that will be filled in behind it. All right, got this area reworked with Sculptamold, and I've just painted it, same brown color as everything else. So this area over here, the stream comes down, kind of makes a left bend under the tracks, comes out over here, reworked the area around that, and then comes over this way and off the layout. I had a little extra Sculptamold left over, so I got to thinking maybe a little hill right there. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's there. It's actually pretty long. It's fairly flat, but I worked a bunch of extra Sculptamold right in there just to give a little hill, a little something to kind of break up, you know, the yard scene from what's going on over here. I kind of want to give the illusion that that's a little farther away. So just a little interesting thing there in what was otherwise a very flat area. And then I also added a bunch along this little hill in the back. Had a piece of foam back there, but I took it from the end and just sort of flattened things out, worked it towards, you know, towards the track a little bit, made it look a little bit more natural. And I'll end up putting some leaves and, you know, kind of what we did back there. And kind of pick that up on this side and run it along the back there. So this is kind of the scene I'm working on now. You know, the back area, the stream, and this area right in here. So that's where we are. Once this dries a little bit more than it is, just latex paint, so it dries pretty quick. I'm going to start putting down some textures and, you know, rock, dirt along the sides, rock around the culverts. I'll probably ballast that track, work this little ditch line down, and just see where the creative juices take me. So that's where we are. I've mentioned the rock I'm using a couple of times. It's Woodland Scenics Talus. This is gray. I think it's going to be a color I don't need to mess with too much. I've got the fine stuff, the medium stuff, and the coarse. There is quite a jump from medium to coarse. Nothing in between those, and there's something even bigger than this I didn't get. My thought was those are going to be way too big for riprap in HO scale, but might make decent river rocks, or, you know, the bigger stones that you might find protruding out of the creek. This I'll use more for the riprap around those culverts. Probably work a little fine in to fill in some gaps, work it up between this around the culvert, up the side of the hill into that, and then just the ballast above that on the causeway. So that's the plan. Didn't think I'd showed you guys that before. All right, got some base scenery down and painted the riverbed, although I'm not sure I'm in love with that color. We'll see what it looks like as it continues to dry. But I just worked the Scenic Express, grabbing it here to show you. This fine natural soil and dirt color, which is kind of the color of dirt in my area. I actually have some real dirt I use sometimes too, but here I use the Scenic Express aggregate, couldn't tell you why. But I just put some straight Mod Podge down on both sides, sprinkled it over the top, and then misted it with some isopropyl alcohol. It's not a real thick layer, just the very first layer. And did that on both sides over here. And then working over to the culvert area, that you can still see glue sitting around. That is just the fine talus, which may actually be what you want for HO scale. So I'll see what that looks like as it dries up. That's just one layer as well. Same thing on this side with the dirt going up into where the river is going to disappear behind trees, and more stone over on that side. You know, glue still drying, it's working its way down. There's, believe it or not, a lot of isopropyl alcohol in there, so that glue should soak down pretty quickly. So that's where we stand. For now, I think I like the way that's starting to come together. It's kind of got the look I was going for there with the causeway, with the, you know, the riprap, and I'll ballast, of course, above it, and add all kinds of textures and rocks and things in the stream, and shrubberies and various mess along both sides before I pour any of the oh, what's that stuff called? The epoxy stuff, Liquitex, Envirotex. That's it. Words. So this is where I'm going to leave it in this video, and I'll keep working on additional detail and such over the next week, and hopefully next Tuesday I'll have some more to show you guys. So appreciate you guys watching. If you like what you see, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, etc. All that YouTube stuff. I appreciate the support, and hope everyone is well and safe. Thank you very much.